What's up guys, Coach Az here. Today I want to give you 5 fundamental Muay Thai combinations. But rather than just plucking 5 combos that I like out of the air, I decided that I wanted each combo to focus on a different aspect of what makes Muay Thai Muay Thai. So this way we get to look at specific techniques and talk about why they get used and why they work, whilst also giving you some combinations to put into practice and add to your arsenal and improve your fight game. So let's get straight into it. Combo number 1 is going to be a Teep to fake Teep to jab cross. Teep also being referred to as the front kick. So the main focus of this combination is that front kick. It's that Teep motion. Now the way I like to throw it and the way I like to teach it is using it almost like a jab. You're thrusting, poking it into your opponent. The Teep in itself, especially when thrown to the body, this isn't the technique that's gonna finish the fight. But I tell you what a Teep is. It's annoying. It's frustrating. When you get kicked in the stomach with that once, twice, 3 times, believe me, you're gonna start reacting, you're gonna start responding. You might eat 1 or 2, but eventually you're going to start defending it. So in this drill, we are drilling that exact scenario. Here, I'm throwing the Teep, and then on the second turn, I'm only lifting the chamber. So I'm raising the knee to draw the reaction that you would get to a Teep. Ideally, them lowering their guard, trying to defend, maybe even moving and adjusting the distance. I'm then following that with my 1-2. The reason this is such an effective combo, guys, is that it's very safe for the user. It's a testing combination. You can throw that Teep over and over again and see how your opponent reacts, what patterns, how do they choose to defend it, and you can choose the opportunity, the timing to step in and follow it up with something else. For this combination, we're working a 1-2-3, a jab cross lead hook into a rear leg kick, working the roundhouse kick down into the thigh. Now, this is a real basic combination. You'd be taught this, very early on in your Muay Thai practice, but it's got such important principles that translate into so many other combinations through the sport. Mainly, what we're talking about here is what I call counter rotation. So after we throw that hook, which is the last punch in the punching combination, that effectively becomes our setup for the kick. And what we've got there is we've got us fully rotated into the hook in one direction. Now, not only, of course, are we then fully committed to that hook and hopefully it's doing damage and hitting the right target, but we have loaded our hips and prepared ourselves for rotation into that leg kick, therefore ensuring maximum power to the kick. Remember, when it comes to techniques in Muay Thai, it's not always about hitting the target clean. Hitting people's arms semi-checked on the leg kicks, these techniques still cause damage and still cause wear and tear. And especially in Thailand, these techniques are still scoring, so they're still effectively helping you to win the fight. It's about breaking your opponent down. So being able to generate maximum power is a huge part of this. And this counter rotation mechanic is a really important one. The jab cross, we're using that to set up into what the meat and bones of the combo is, which is the hook into the leg kick. Of course, it wouldn't be a Muay Thai combination list without some elbows and some knees. It's called the art of 8 limbs for a reason. So here, I'm using my rear knee to drive me in and to bring me into effectively a clinch range. Now, apologies that I'm doing it on the freestanding bag. It's not exactly the ideal training partner for working clinch conditions. So there's not an awful lot of clinch work in these combos, but I wanted to throw something in there because it's just such an essential part of the game. Here, we're using that rear knee to close the distance and we're trying to shoot that into either the stomach or up into the chest. Really what we want from that knee is to draw their arms down and in, because that then opens them up for the elbow strikes coming over the top. And the hand positioning is important here. The way my hands come up and through is to try to make sure that my arm is on top of theirs, thus making sure that it's very difficult for them to block my elbow strike because my arm's on top. If my arm's underneath, then their arm is in the way and it can block and defend the strike. But if I can get my arms over their shoulders, then it's far easier once I'm in that close range through that knee to pull their head and guide them into the elbow off of either side. Now, you might not necessarily throw 2 elbows, you might just throw a single one on the side that's open, but I like to drill both sides so that we've got confidence throwing it from either the lead or the rear side arm. Spinning techniques are some of the most devastating shots you can throw in Muay Thai. And here we're taking a look at a spinning elbow strike, as well as a little bit of framing. So what I'm throwing here is a cross jab into a spinning elbow. The important note, so the key takeaway from this is after I throw that jab, you'll notice I pull my arm down. Now what I'm trying to simulate there and replicate is the idea of pulling the guard down of my opponent and creating that opening on that side to bring the elbow round. I'm using my arm to frame and also to measure the distance into the spin. That's why I wait till the absolute last moment to remove it before replacing it with the elbow that comes round. Also here, we're not starting the punching combo off of a jab. I've said it in multiple videos that always leading off of your jab can become very predictable and easy to read. By starting with the 2 and then following with the 1, not only are we already confusing our opponent, but they then don't expect what's going to follow. So from there, the 2, then the 1, the arm drag, and we come round with that spinning elbow strike. For this next combination, the star of the show is the switch kick. The switch kick is a way of delivering your lead leg roundhouse kick, but effectively with the power of your rear leg. So I'm switching the stance to then throw my roundhouse kick, and we're then following it with the hands. I'm shooting a 1-2 and then a lead arm body hook. Now what I'm doing here intentionally is I'm shooting the switch kick to the body, I'm bringing the 1-2 up to the head, and then I'm going back to the well with those body shots. Again, like I spoke about earlier, it's all about trying to break down defenses. Whether that switch kick hits them or they defend it with their arm, they're less likely to want to put their arm in the way of the next shot that's coming. Or you simply wear down that guard to the point where that arm starts getting really heavy and really slow, and it becomes far more difficult for your opponent to read what you're doing and respond quick enough. So here, after that switch kick, which brings me in a little closer, I follow it straight up with the hands. People have a tendency, once they are able to kick head height, to always want to kick head height. The problem with always head hunting like this is it becomes very easy to defend because your opponent just gets their guard up and just has to protect this. We need to remember all the levels, and especially in Muay Thai where we've got access to leg kicks, body kicks and head kicks, we need to play with those levels and make it far more difficult for our opponent to know what we intend on throwing. So again, like I said, with this combination, the switch kick is being thrown intentionally to the body. Then the 1-2 comes back upstairs, and then we go back down to the body with that body hook, making sure that we're rotating into it and driving our force up and through to that floating rib. I don't think any Muay Thai combination list would be complete without a rear leg roundhouse kick. So we are going to go for the head kick on this one, but importantly, we're going to be working a bit of framing again as well as a pivot. The beauty of Muay Thai is it has such an important clinch element to the game. So although it is a striking sport, we are trying to hit with punches, kicks, elbows and knees. The clinch game and the ability to grab, to hold, to catch, they're such vital parts of what makes Muay Thai Muay Thai. It's also the reason that it seems to be the most used form of striking martial art in MMA, because it implements some of the grappling, at least from the stand-up portion. So it's so much easier to then transition in and mix in your wrestling and your jiu-jitsu if you have this fundamental basic grab. Okay guys, so for this combination, I'm working off of that lead hook, and again, I'm using it, whether it be to guide their head, their shoulder, or their guard to where I want it to be to create the opening for that back leg roundhouse kick. And like we did earlier with the leg kick, I'm really trying to use that counter rotation, that ability to turn into that hook and then bring that leg all the way back round, really focusing on power. I know from experience that even if you block a head kick, if it's coming at you with full force, it can still rock you and it can still hurt you even if it ends up hitting on the guard. If it doesn't hit on the guard, it's probably lights out. Here, I'm stepping my back foot back round behind me and turning my opponent and opening them into my power side. I'm throwing that hook, I might throw it off of a 1-2 and then into that lead hook, and I'm leaving it there long. That one is there long as I pivot myself around and position my opponent. And similar to what we said with the spinning elbow, I'm not removing it until the last moment as that kick comes up to ensure my target is where I want it to be. Well guys, I hope you found these combinations useful. Now obviously there's so many more techniques and so many things that we haven't had the chance to speak about today, but I'll do more videos on these in the future. So get these into the practice room and I will see you on the next one.